What are my thoughts on Terrence Howard? That's hard. I got really excited because I saw some clips from the Joe Rogan experience. And I made a video and I was like, oh my God, did you guys see the Terrence Howard episode? And I cut some of that stuff out because then I went and watched the entire interview. I'm glad that Terrence Howard is thinking outside the box. And I think he makes some really great points. However, this is incredible. 1998. Excuse me. I think his ego, my goodness, took over. I think his ego is humongous. And so like there's just some aspects of his theory that I'm just like, bro, you gotta let it go. And I don't want to say that he's not an intelligent man. Like the one times one equals two, I I understand. I think a lot of us need hypnotherapy. um I
Yeah,
understand why he doesn't like the concept of
is it?
one times one equaling one because it's a multiplier. Hold on. But you have like he has to remember little things like multiply math is there for us to discover. We find new things all the time. But like, one and two pens, we didn't make that up. There's two pens, right? We just gave it a name. The name we gave that number is two, right? But there will always be two pens, even if we didn't know what one and two were. One times one, multiplication is a way for us to add faster, right? So one times one is one plus zero. It's one time. And then, if we want to say one times 10, that's because we don't want to say one plus one plus one plus one plus one plus one. Right? That's just too much. So I feel like there are aspects of what he was saying that his ego took over, and then he's like, well, I'm right, and it's like, no, you may be right on some things and you have some great ideas, but these are things that we work together on and solve. And if you're telling me one thing and I'm like, that's a great idea. So then you're like, well, one times one equals two. And I'm like, no. And then you're like, well, I don't accept. It's like, well, I'm accepting the radical things that you're saying. So maybe let's work together and don't just shut me out because one thing one time is still just that one thing. I can't make it another. Um, but we have to remember that he was not lying about his patents about virtual reality. He is quoted by all of these companies. He did create that, um, or at least some aspect of it. And he's a bright man, and he's onto some really great points. But I do feel that you have to let go of your ego. But I don't like that people are just shutting him down instantly without giving him credit for the stuff that he has done and without actually looking into what he's saying. I don't like that because he does make some really, really great points. And I feel that if more people were inclined to work with him and he was more inclined to let go of his ego, there could be a middle ground where we could find some groundbreaking stuff. Do I feel that Terrence Howard has solved the entire universe? No. Do I think he might be onto something? Sure, but there's a lot of stuff he needs to work on and a lot of stuff that the scientific community needs to work on because they also get fixed on their ideas and don't want to let them go even when they should, just like historians who don't want to admit that some things are older than they are even though we've proven that they're older. There's a lot that goes on there, and there's a lot of give and take. Well, there's a lot of take and not enough give from everyone. And I feel like we need to all, including Terrence Howard, feel more comfortable finding a compromise so that together we can find the right answers. I don't think that he's right in one times one equals two. I think that's a little bit absurd. But I also don't think that it's okay to discredit everything he says just because he believes that, especially considering he has so many patents that are being used right now. So he does know that he's a smart man. It's not like he's dumb or crazy. He's intelligent, uh, but his ego's a little bit inflated. Ryan, you see, I don't like that take. I do think he's wrong in that aspect, but he's not a complete moron. Literally, what he said about it, if you watch the episode, I didn't believe some of the stuff, right? And then I believed some of the other stuff. But when he said he had patents, I'm like, dude, you did not patent VR. And then I did research, and yeah, every VR headset that we have is using his work. So he knows something. He made the VR experience. That's not a lie. Like you can look up Apple's patents and Microsoft. They quote Terrence Howard. It's really weird. Um, so yeah, like what you're doing right now, Ryan, and I get it because one times one makes it does sound stupid. That one thing does not make him wrong about everything. If you take a test right now and you don't get 100% and you get 90% or 80%, you're not dumb and you're not speaking gibberish just because you didn't know five of the answers or two or three, depending on how many questions the test was. But you don't have to get everything in your life right to be considered smart. That's You can't belittle someone because they got one thing wrong. That's all I'm saying about that. So no, what he's saying is not gibberish. What some of the stuff he's saying is incorrect? Sure. Should he be discredited because of it? No, not at all. That is wrong, and it's wrong for everyone in the media that does that. That is absolutely a horrible take. I hope that you guys give him credit and the benefit of the doubt. Like what he said about straight lines and our whole universe being no, there's no straight lines. This is true. We are spheres and curves and movement and motion. We are motion. He brings up some really great points, and he has some really great patents that it's just like, wow, that really came from his mind. He just let his ego take over. Even Einstein was wrong a lot. Yes, exactly. A lot of scientists are. You have to be wrong. You just have to. Sorry, I'm going back into it. I'm stopping the video. Here's where I'm gonna say. You have to be wrong. You just have to accept. You get to be wrong sometimes. You have to accept that you're gonna be wrong sometimes. That's what makes a genius. What makes a genius is not that they're always right. What makes a genius is that they know that sometimes they're going to be wrong, and when they find out that they're wrong, they course correct. Right? That's what it is. It's not about, oh, and that's where Terrence Howard's problem lies, is that when he is wrong, he does not want to course correct. His ego has taken over because he's been right so many times. But just because you're right so many times doesn't mean you're never wrong. And that's something he needs to learn in order to grow. Um, but yes, that being said, yeah, 3 hours of gibberish. I listened on Joe Rogan, and he didn't put forth a single coherent thought. He's dumb. Um, Again, incorrect. A lot of very smart people can't explain to you their thoughts. That's something that I struggled with when I worked at Apple. I was a creative pro for quite some time, and I was doing a lot of presentations, and I would teach kids how to program, teach them how to code, teach individuals how to code, teach everyone how to use their phones. And there were times where I had a lot of knowledge on a product that I could not, there goes the air conditioner, that I could not sometimes I couldn't put it into words and I would have to show you. And, if you heard me speaking, there were times where I couldn't hold a thought together or I wouldn't sound coherent because everything was flooding into my brain. And I would just be like, I can't explain this line of code to you. So we're going to demonstrate it and I'm going to show you it in practice. So I don't think that just because a lot of thoughts were rushing into his head and he wasn't as coherent as he could have been, that he was wrong. Again, I think he's an egomaniac, but that does not make him dumb. It makes him dangerous because he doesn't admit when he's wrong. But he's smart and he's got some great ideas. He's a shill. Everyone's a shill. Everyone's a shill. Everyone's a grifter. He's paid to confuse people. He's paid. I don't know if it's to confuse people. I think he's confused himself. All right, enough Terrence Howard. Smash that like if you haven't already. Smash subscribe if you're new here. We appreciate you. We have a lot of fun. I post a lot of cool random videos, a lot of UFOs. So if you're here for UFOs, you will see a lot of those. But I also post gaming, reactions, funny, paranormal, all types of content. I love y'all. Thank you for tuning in. Smash that like again. I'm gonna say it again. I will see all of you guys next time. I hope you all have an amazing day.